Skol Vikings, you absolute legends. Welcome back to Vikings News, your home for everything purple and gold. Fresh off the 2025 NFL Draft, we're diving into Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's master plan. Because, let's be real, our GM is cooking something special for Minnesota. But here's the kicker. While the draft filled some gaps, there are still holes that could make or break our Super Bowl dreams. Ready for the tea? Did the Vikings do enough? Or are we headed for a free agency frenzy? Stick around, because we're breaking it all down in 10 explosive scenes, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's get hyped, Skol. So, the 2025 NFL Draft just wrapped in Green Bay, and the Vikings walked away with 5 picks, yep, one of the smallest classes in franchise history. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah didn't trade down in round 1, snagging Ohio State guard Donovan Jackson to protect our boy J.J. McCarthy. Day 2 brought Maryland's speedster Ty Felton, a wide receiver with a 4.37-second 40-yard dash. Talk about juice for Kevin O'Connell's offense. Day 3, that's where we got defensive tackle Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, linebacker Kobe King, and tight end Gavin Bartholomew. Solid, right? But here's the question buzzing in every Vikings fan's mind. Did we address all our needs? Let's be real, these picks are meat and potatoes, as some analysts say. They're not flashy, but they fill gaps and add depth, which is huge for a roster already stacked after Kwesi's free agency splash. Donovan Jackson? He's a 320-pound beast who could start at left guard from day 1. Ty Felton? He's not just a depth receiver. He's a special teams weapon. And don't sleep on Kobe King. His 90.8 PFF run defense grade screams run stopper for Brian Flores defense. But before we pop the champagne, let's talk about what's missing. Vikings fans, what do you think we still need? Drop it in the comments. Alright, let's zoom in on the secondary because, oof, that's where the Vikings raised some eyebrows. Everyone expected a cornerback or safety in this draft. Mel Kiper Jr. even called out the lack of an impact cornerback as a big miss. Minnesota's got Byron Murphy Jr. and Isaiah Rodgers, plus youngsters like Mekhi Blackman, but depth is thin. Imagine a late-season injury. Yikes, the safety room isn't much better. Harrison Smith and Theo Jackson are solid, with Josh Metellus as a Swiss Army knife. But where's the backup plan? Why didn't Kwesi go all in on the secondary? Well, the Vikings clearly trust their young talent and Brian Flores wizardry. Flores turned Ivan Pace Jr. into a star, so maybe he's got plans for guys like Dwight McGlothern. Still, the draft left fans scratching their heads. Cornerbacks like Michigan's Will Johnson or Texas' Jody Barron were on the board but went elsewhere. Vikings News dug into this. Kwesi's betting on his current roster. But is that enough for a playoff push? What do you think, Skol Nation? Should we have grabbed a DB? Here's the deal. Depth issues in the secondary could haunt us in January. Picture this, a tight wild card game and we're down a corner. That's where free agency comes in. With cap space to spare, the Vikings could target a veteran like Xavier Howard, a former All-Pro corner still floating in free agency as of April 2025. Or maybe a safety like Justin Reed who's got experience in big games. These moves wouldn't just add depth. They'd send a message. Minnesota's all in. So, who's your dream DB signing? Hit the comments. Now, let's talk running back because Skol fans, this one's spicy. The Vikings didn't draft a single RB, leaving Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler as the main guys. Jones is a stud, but he's 30, and Chandler's in the final year of his deal. NFL Network's Tom Pelissero hinted before the draft that Minnesota might trade up for a running back, but it never happened. Why? Kwesi's roster is built to win now, but a thin RB room could spell trouble in a long season. Think about it, our offense thrives on balance. Kevin O'Connell loves a strong run game to set up J.J. McCarthy's play action. Without depth, we're one injury away from leaning too hard on Jones. The Athletic mentioned Texas' Jonathan Brooks, a 220-pound bruiser, as a day 3 fit, but he went elsewhere. Now, fans are wondering, will the Vikings chase a free agent like Dalvin Cook for a reunion? Or maybe a younger back like J.K. Dobbins? What's your take, Vikings faithful? Free agency could be our savior here. Picture a guy like DeAndre Swift, who's got the speed and receiving skills to fit O'Connell's scheme. He's a free agent in 2025 and could be a game-changer as a rotational back. The Vikings have the cap space, roughly $20 million per over the cap, to make a splash. A move like this would keep our offense humming and take pressure off McCarthy. So, Skol Nation, who's your pick for RB depth? Let's hear it. Linebacker is another spot where depth is a concern, even after drafting Kobe King. Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace Jr. are locked-in starters, but both missed time last season. King's a sixth-round gem, Penn State's captain with a knack for blowing up runs, but he's more of a special teams guy for now. Eric Wilson's back for special teams, too. But what happens if Pace or Cashman goes down? That's a gamble. Brian Flores loves versatile linebackers who can blitz, cover, and stop the run. King fits that mold, but he's raw. The Athletics' Dane Brugler called him a fourth-round talent, snatched in the sixth, so there's upside. Still, the Vikings passed on other LBs like Auburn's Austin Keys, who went undrafted but signed with Minnesota as a free agent. Is that enough? Fans, are you worried about our LB depth? Or is Flores' scheme bulletproof? Here's where free agency could get juicy. A veteran like Devin White, a former Pro Bowler, is still available and could add instant depth. He's a thumper who'd thrive in Flores' aggressive defense. Or maybe a budget-friendly signing like Josie Jewell, who knows how to plug gaps. These moves would give Minnesota insurance and keep our defense elite. Vikings News wants to know, who's your LB target? Drop it below. Let's pivot to the big picture. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's roster is a beast. Free agency brought in studs like Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Ryan Kelly, and Will Fries. The draft added depth with Jackson, Felton, and company. ESPN called this roster one of the NFL's most talented. And they're not wrong. J.J. McCarthy's got protection, Justin Jefferson's got a new WR buddy, and Flores' defense is stacked. But depth at safety, cornerback, running back, and linebacker? That's the final puzzle piece. What's wild is how Kwesi's playing chess, not checkers. He traded for QB Sam Howell on day 3, giving McCarthy a cheap, young backup instead of chasing Aaron Rodgers. That move alone saved millions. The Vikings also signed 19 undrafted free agents, including Gophers QB Max Brosmer with a $250,000 guarantee. Talk about a steal, but the clock's ticking. Training camps in a few months, and those depth issues need fixing. What's Kwesi's next move, Skol fans? Here's the suspense. Free agency could define our season. With no compensatory pick concerns, Minnesota can sign veterans without draft penalties. Imagine a secondary with a lockdown corner, a backfield with a fresh RB, and a linebacker room ready for anything. That's the Vikings team that could hoist the Lombardi Trophy. Vikings News is calling it. Kwesi's got one more trick up his sleeve. What do you want to see? Comment now. Skol Vikings. We're at the finish line. The 2025 draft was a solid step, but free agency is where champions are made. Safety, cornerback, running back, linebacker, those are the spots to watch. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's built a roster with no glaring holes, but depth is the key to surviving the NFL's war of attrition. Vikings News is fired up for what's next. Training camp's gonna be lit. What's your bold prediction for the season? Before we roll out, let's talk legacy. This Vikings team feels different. J.J. McCarthy's back from injury, Brian Flores is a defensive genius, and Kevin O'Connell's offense is a machine. If we nail these free agency moves, we're not just playoff bound, we're Super Bowl contenders. But we need your voice. Skol Nation. Who's the one free agent we must sign? Drop it in the comments and let's get this debate popping. Alright, Vikings faithful, it's time to show some love. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss Vikings news. Share this video with your fellow Skol fans, and let's build the loudest fan base in the NFL. We're on this journey together, and the road to the Super Bowl starts now. Skol Vikings. See you in the next one.